Hello, everyone. It's me talking first, which means you know it's something special, and we have something special. You don't know it's something special. It's just not Tommy, which is normal. Yep. We've got something for you.
That's right. We're making a couple of little changes to the Patreon. So our existing Patreon, for $5, you get access to our Discord and our Facebook group. For $10, you get a weekly bonus podcast called Nintendo 69. Now, we'll be making a couple of little changes. To the $5 tier, we're adding ad-free episodes.
Yep.
This podcast, the main podcast.
That's right.
That you are about to listen to. Filthy Casuals, it's called. Ever heard of it?
So if you want to listen to this episode again down the line and you don't want to hear this bit right now, you can get onto the Patreon
we
won't need to put it on.
As painful as possible. So, no, it's ad-free completely.
That's right.
Every single episode of the main show from here will be ad-free on the Patreon on that $5 tier.
Also,
whoa, there's more?
In that $5 tier, you'll be getting bonus content. Once a month, you'll be getting a listener mailbag episode. You'll be able to engage, send in questions, and we will be answering those questions in that monthly mailbag episode.
Exactly right. Nintendo 69 once a month morphs into the mailbag, and you will be able to access that mailbag episode on that $5 tier.
Yes.
Regular Nintendo 69 episodes on that $10 tier, and also for you on the $10 tier. Monthly of premium episodes, which have been available on there for a while, but they were the Bandcamp ones. They've been a little less frequent, and we're doing them monthly from here on out. Because we really appreciate all of you who are on Patreon already.
Yeah.
And everyone who's thinking of going over. We're trying to make it the most appealing place it can be. It's a lovely place in the Discord. People are very nice to one another. And you get all of that on the $5, and the $10 gets you the extra Nintendo 69 sister podcast.
Absolutely.
Plus those premium episodes. So you get, there's a $2 and a $20 tier if you just want to throw like some money our way to say thank you and to help us out. And we massively appreciate the people who do that. You get a thank you on our website on the $2. The $20 just means you're helping us out heaps, and we couldn't be more thankful.
You want to donate some money for your taxes or something.
I don't know if that's possible with this. But those $5 and $10 tiers, we'll be getting some more stuff. Go have a look. Patreon.com/filthycasualspod is the place to go. And if you want to help us out, it lets us do this podcast. It's the reason we're able to do it. So we thank you very much, and maybe some of those benefits are for you.
Yeah. Now, sorry for putting an ad at the start of the podcast. Enjoy.
I'm not sorry. I'll do it again.
Good morning, video games. Welcome to Filthy Casuals, a podcast about video games, hosted by three very kind and extremely knowledgeable boys. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tommy Daslow, and with me, as always,
it's number 2 of the 3, Ben Vanel.
Nice to see you, B2. It's B1 here. Adam Knox. Tommy's 3.
What?
Okay. You're fucking Radis the Rat or whatever his name was.
So you went from being
coup.
You were Dr. Evil's henchman, and then you got changed by Adam into being one of the bananas in pajamas.
That's right.
And now I'm downgraded again.
Yeah. Who else was in Bananas in Pajamas?
Radis, 3 Bears. And
What?
I think that might be it. Modigliana.
What?
Oh,
no.
wait, Radis the Rat. No, Mr.
No.
Rat. There was
Mr.
a rat.
No, there was a rat.
Yeah, Ratty.
Radis
Was he
the
ratty?
Rat. Modigliana the cat.
No, that's the
discovered
ferals.
fame and fortune
No.
and then never going back.
That's the Ferals. Yeah, he was a mouse.
That's
I
the
think.
Bananas in Pajamas.
That would have been cool if the bananas in pajamas had have turned up in the ferals, but they're all like rotted and just like decaying, and like they've been in the bin for like a year.
That's the sort of twisted sort of thing the ferals would do.
Yeah, the banana that's been down the bottom of a school bag. You ever have that? You forget to eat your banana for recess, and then you find it in there like a week later, and it's rank.
Yeah.
I was
That's
gobbling
ready.
bananas as quick as I could.
It's ready to be made into banana bread.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the best. That's what you got to do with an old brown banana.
You know what the banana bread is to the banana? It's the DLC of the banana.
I was just
Yeah.
about to do the same
No,
thing.
you weren't.
Yes, I
No,
was.
You would have said it out
I was
loud.
about to say.
If you were thinking it, you would have said it.
I have the compunction, I believe is the word.
No.
It might not be.
It's not.
To allow people to finish their sentences
true.
before I begin mine.
A, not true. B, courtesy, I think was the
Yeah.
word you were looking for.
I think-
Podcaster's creed. If the minute you have a funny thought, scream it, scream it over the top of everyone
I
else.
couldn't even have a thought. I
No.
just went, blah, blah, blah.
I thought it would be funny to go,
What does compunction mean?
like compulsion. It's like the motivation.
Right. Okay. So okay. So
Anytime
if I had
someone-
the compunction to talk, I would withhold that impulse
Yes.
while someone else was talking.
Yes.
Anytime someone says to you, "What does this word mean?" and they go, "It means this," and then they just use another word, that word should not exist.
Nah.
If you can describe the word with just another word,
No way.
then get
This
rid
guy
of it.
hates
Get rid of it.
thesauruses.
Get rid of it.
I
Get rid of
disagree
it.
more strongly.
Yeah.
The nuance of a word, even if they're similar words, they mean different things.
No,
It's
we
a
should
very-
be a
for
society of
example,
8 words.
Compunction means the same thing as courtesy, for example, but in slightly different, barely noticeable ways.
I feel like English, that's one of the problems with English, is there's so many words that mean the same or similar things that, like, you will learn English and you'll learn the word for this thing, and then someone will use a different word and you'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
But they have such different meanings if someone goes like, if I'm angry or furious, for example, those are sort of two different things because they're escalations of the
Yeah.
same concept.
As a native English speaker, it's great
Yeah.
that you can express nuance.
But we have relatively few words compared to other languages, don't we? Like,
No, I think we have more.
do we really?
Yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah.
because you always hear these things of like in some languages and cultures, there's like, there's 8 different words to describe this, or like schadenfreude, for example, is a word that like
Yeah.
there's no analog to in the English language.
Well-
Happy that you had a bad day.
Or just, like, it translates as...
What about that?
I thought you were just saying that. I think. A bit rough.
It means shameful joy, so we do have the words.
yeah.
English is a stupid language though, but it's a fun as hell language to hear little weirdos in a fantasy land speak in accents that are derived from said language.
Translated from Japanese
Yeah,
into
yeah,
that grotty little English.
Translated from George R.R. Martin sort of spitting some similar names out.
Yep.
Then like, oh, what the fuck are we going to do with this? Why is it Marika and Melania and
Mikola.
Is it-
Mesmer and
Yeah.
Mikola?
Because it's not. We're talking about Elden Ring. It's not.
What?
I think it is even in Japan. It's like it's in English and like like
Oh, then phonetically translate.
like
yeah,
Bayonetta,
yeah.
for example. Like all the voice act. If you'd like turn the voice acting onto that in Japanese, because you're thinking like, oh, I'm going to do but it's like it's voiced in English even over there, right? Like as the default.
I'm not
Oh.
sure. I've never played Elden Ring in Japan, but I think that might be true about
Yeah.
like all the Souls games because it's meaning to be this like
Yes.
a certain type of fantasy thing.
Right.
We're having northern accents, northern English accents. Sounds good. The Elden Ring.
Yeah.
The fucking Elden Ring.
Come towards me.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff is
Go to Mikola.
go down shops. Tell
Yeah.
Mikola.
Don't forget runes.
Oi, I'm gonna eat some fucking beige food.
Yes.
I love beige food and I love Elden Ring, and we'll talk about Shadow of the Erdtree. It's the big game of the bloody week.
Yeah.
It's a good ass time.
It's fantastic.
Not to give the whole spiel that I intend to give with a few words that I've selected poorly.
Okay.
Why don't we get a little bit of news out of the way first?
Yeah,
and
let's
then
do it.
Go in.
I'd love to.
I've got some news about Shadow of the Erdtree.
Now we're talking. This is my type of news.
It's too hard.
It's too hard. It's too buggy. It doesn't run well on PC. That's the news. That's the news of the week about Shadow of the Erdtree. People have, I don't think like unjustifiably review bombed it. People have reviewed it poorly because it is performing poorly on PC.
Yeah, I don't think this is like review bombing in the sense that when people say that, I tend to associate that with coordinated attack.
Yeah.
Because of some cultural
Because
thing
there's a
is
woman in
often
it.
why.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's mainly on the PC due to performance issues, but also some of it is people finding it difficult.
Yeah.
and,
People are annoyed that it's quote unquote too difficult.
they're seeing it as poor game design, which I will in moments strongly disagree with.
Yeah.
But
In your rebuttal, in the rebuttal format.
yeah, the most fun thing a guy can do is rebut to internet comments. That's what people love to hear.
Yep.
I can see people. I can understand that opinion of like the base game or any FromSoft game. You try and get into it, and it's too difficult for you, and you don't understand what the fun is in something just being too hard. I get that, but having that complaint about DLC that you've paid for on top of the base game, and you have to have done a significant amount of the base game and beaten some challenges to get in. You're getting DLC because you want more. You want more of a challenge. You want more of what the base game is offering. So to find that to be too much seems very strange to me, and like you sort of don't understand what what the point of a DLC is.
To add one compunction in fairness to there is some stuff. I'm pretty sure I've used it right 5 times now. The DLC stuff. Maybe I can just get into it now. But like, there's
Restrict yourself to the news portion, please.
I have the compunction to talk about all of Shadow of the Erdtree.
Now that time it was correct.
Hooray!
Why don't you
praise from Caesar?
Why don't you compunctioneers just go in? Let's just talk about it now.
Well, I with this aspect in particular, some of the design of the bosses is different in some ways to how the base game of Elden Ring worked in what I see as an escalation.
I think I'm in that boat as well.
But there's more flurry style attacks. There's a lot of stuff coming at you. They will take a lot of your health away. There is a separate leveling system in the DLC that we'll talk about that is part of why. So it is encouraging you again to go in different directions and maybe come back. But
this reads to me as someone who has not played the DLC as like people who've spent a lot of time with the base game and really thought they would go in and just like mop the floor with this DLC, and they're getting punished all over again, and they don't like it because they thought they were the best you can possibly be at this game.
Maybe. I don't know what the general thing is. I haven't looked at any of this myself, but like I can see finding it difficult, and I think the argument that comes up every time a From game comes out of like, well, should every game have easier options? Is this just an accessibility issue that they're not addressing? I think that is fair enough in a lot of ways. Like
again, I think that's fair enough of their base games, but of a DLC, like
it's like a separate, different argument to talking about this as DLC as someone who is a big fan of this game. But I do see the perspective of what would it cost any game to have some option for those who want it to make it more possible to experience it.
Well, you know? I don't think it's unreasonable for people to feel that way. I disagree. And I think the answer to that is it would cost the, not integrity, but it would cost this game being the wholesale creative vision of its director. Because its director has said over and over again, I want this game to be hard because it reflects how hard life is. It reflects my perspective on the world.
I think I agree with that more than I think I think it's an interesting thing to talk about. And like, if you want to build a wall, you can't have a door in it, or else the wall stops functioning as a wall.
I feel like I personally would like it to be easier to see more of the game.
Right.
But what that, like exactly what you're saying, what that would cost in terms of like the compromise of someone's very pure vision, I'm way more into that existing than I am into like just selfishly being able to like play a bit more of a game when there's like tons of other games out there for me.
Well, and it's not necessarily selfish, but also on the PC at least, there's plenty of options to be able to get this game a little easier.
Right.
You can mod this game, even though like there are multiplayer aspects, you can do a single player offline mode, and there are ways of doing it. So if you want to do it, you can.
It's just not endorsed by the person who made the game.
The couple of things is like, gotten some mixed reviews for some technical stuff that I haven't experienced on the PS5. I think it is PC specific with it booting people from the game is one thing I've heard that's been happening to my brother, where like every so often and not irregularly it will say unapproved action taken or something about like content moderation pretty much, and boot you even if you're not like putting up I don't know how you could get that message anyway. But
a real specific series of emotes that like YMCA style spell out something.
Real crook. Shouldn't have put all those letter emotes in. But I don't know what it is, but that sort of disconnection stuff and
Right.
some multiplayer things, which, yeah, fair enough. But the other little bit of Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree news is that it's now the highest rated in terms of Metascore type thing DLC of all time.
Wow. Right.
It's taken the mantle from The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine.
Yeah.
Which I saw the CD Projekt put out like a cute little drawing. You know when like Titanic beats out whatever it used to be, Star Wars, and they'll put out a little thing of a boat crashing into Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, yeah.
They did that.
Yeah.
And
Not familiar with this, but sure.
it happens all the time. Like Avatar then killed someone else, and then Marvel killed Avatar.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Thor taking the unobtainium from the
It's something
Yeah,
like
people
that.
write into Empire Magazine and they've done a little drawing of one of the blue guys pushing Jack off the door
Yeah.
in Titanic.
That's right.
Sonic pissing on Mario and that outside. But like they put out a cute little thing of like Geralt having been killed by the Elden Ring guy.
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I liked it.
The generic Elden Ring guy from the
Just like the cover one where
Yeah.
it's like sort of soldier boy with a sword.
Soldier
Getting
Boy.
into, yeah.
From the boys. There's a crossover too. Yeah.
Hell
Getting
yeah.
into work that day at CG Project Red, and just the first thing that comes up is your boss being like, "Here's what you got to do today.
Yeah.
You got to do a drawing of this." Oh, I mean, we're so behind schedule on this
Yeah.
next game, and you remember what happened last time? Like, we
Yeah.
really need all hands on deck.
You
Do
gotta-
the fucking drawing.
It's got to be Geralt at the pearly gates, like everything is. With Sir Peter Satter waited for you. Anyway, we'll talk about what we think of Shadow of the Erdtree later. But yeah, that's interesting that it's always like receptions are so extreme often.
Yes.
These days. Speaking of the fucking boys,
And then
Like-
critically, like you say, just perfect, incredibly good game, well received by critics.
I'm loving it. I'll explain why later. Maybe you could interview me about it, Tommy.
Yeah, maybe I could interview you in a way that you seem to think is off the record, and then I just dox your ass.
That'd be kind of bad.
Yeah,
I feel like
so-
that would be sort of a mishandling of your position.
The notorious Nintendo leaker, Puro, I believe his name is. Or
He was on Twitter.
Yep.
Was on X, which was God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like a guy he always kind of pops up in the lead up to directs, and he's been correct a lot of the time. He's generally like pretty cryptic, like he'll post a little, like I think in the lead up to the one at the start of the year, he posted a thing of like a Donkey Kong gif, and people were like, "Oh, we're getting a new 3D Donkey Kong game or a new Donkey Kong Country, whatever." And he was like, scale down your expectations. It's a bit more, he's like, he's generally pretty spot on, but he
Kind
doesn't
of
just
vague
like
as well.
release the titles. He still
Yeah,
leaves a bit
yeah.
of fun in there. So it was revealed in a I think it's like a weekly newsletter that our old friend Jason Shrek Schreier puts
Yes.
together for Bloomberg.
Yep.
He revealed who his source is in at Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's
And not like specifically naming them, right?
Didn't
Just
name them.
The position that they were in, it like as some sort of web backend guy in Japan.
It's a guy in
Right.
Japan who has access to the back end of the website, so he's able to kind of see what's coming down the pipe.
Right.
Which was interesting to me because you kind of like, for some reason I just assume that like anyone who's leaking this stuff internally, they're coming from like the American division or the European division. Do you know, there's something about it coming direct from Japan that was surprising to me for whatever reason.
Yeah,
Nintendo
yeah.
especially tends to be a pretty locked
Yeah. So
tight ship, locked down ship.
A locked ship.
yeah, compunction and shit.
Yeah.
So he
Send in what you think compunction means
Yeah.
to filthycasualspod at
Yeah.
gmail.com.
So Schreier puts this in his newsletter, and then Puro kind of posted a link to it or a screenshot to it, and basically said, "Oh, what the hell? I didn't know he was going to quote me on this."
Now, do you think that this is Jason Schreier's failure? Because you said mishandling of it. But
I mean, I don't know. I know that he is has a lot of integrity about the way he reports stuff.
that's the thing. He tends to be the sort of
Yeah.
figurehead, like front of the ship flag bearer. Ship things aren't my avoid compunction and ships.
He
for me
specifically
today.
reports on workplace rights breaches.
Does really
and-
in-depth stuff.
He's
usually.
done a
Yeah.
lot of. He's written 2 books. He
a couple of missteps from time to time. They're separate, but like. yeah, I can't imagine him not making it pretty clear. Or at least if you're talking to him, you'd be like, hey, this is fucking this guy.
Yeah,
I
how
think
do you
he's
want
been
me
a journalist for a long enough time that he's like, I'd be shocked if he's misleading anyone in an interview.
I don't know. I suppose you could go in expecting that the default is off the record until someone says you're on, but I think it's more that, and it's not even an official thing. It's just like that. It's not like it's a mode you can switch into. It's just an agreement between a journalist and their source that like
Yeah.
you have to trust.
I mean, it's a courtesy. It's like if you're talking to a journalist, like
Assume you're on.
exactly if you're sitting down for an interview, and it's like people get like into sort of trouble with this all the time, where like the first part of their sentence is left out of the interview to like kind of change the context of what they said. So
That's a very different thing.
Of course, but you do. My point: if you're interacting with a journalist, you do have to be on.
Right, there's a level of being like, well, everything I say, I'm giving over to this person.
Especially
it's
if
a
you're
hot mic. Unless you go before, I would think you go, hey, can I have this bit? I'm going to tell you be off the record, but I think it's important, but I don't want to be have this information show up or whatever.
Now, I imagine that this guy, given he runs an anonymous X account that is leaking Nintendo information
via somebody else,
right,
as well,
would have spoken to Schreier about his anonymity. I don't think that this would be something that would have gone unsaid. I reckon there would have been an explicit conversation about how he is willing to or not willing to be referred to. Now, that would possibly relate to their name, but don't know if it relates to their job title.
I wonder, because I kind of I would assume that this conversation is happening over DM,
I think
just
it was.
from his anonymous Twitter account. I don't think they
think it
sat
was
down
that.
for a chat.
Right.
I would assume he's just messaging, and so you have to know if you're an anonymous leaker. Obviously, people want to know, well, like, what is your source? Where is this stuff coming from? And if you tell that to a guy like him, who is like one of the most well-known games journalists.
I think the way it happened too is that Schreier suggested, like, because someone like on Reddit found, because I've looked at this Pioro guy's leaks before, directs and stuff, and found them interesting and sometimes talked about them on here. Someone on Reddit or somewhere found that every leak that was happening, so he didn't do any for this most recent direct.
Right.
Didn't get any of these. And the difference was that this direct, none of those sites on Nintendo's website were preloaded. They all were like actually put up that day.
Right.
Huh.
So someone found that separate to all of this. Schreier had seen that, suggested it to Pioro that like, hey, could this be the reason they've been able to get into it? I think this is from reading it 2 days ago, the sequence of events I saw. And then this Pioro person said, yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Right.
So I don't think it's even like them going like, this is who it is, don't tell anyone.
This is just Jason Schreier doing journalism
detective work.
and being like, well, my assumption is that it's this person based on this.
Because he then...
Which you're allowed to do if again, this is not made explicit. If this is like an implication, it's like, well, a journalist's job is to figure stuff out and then tell people about it.
If you're a journalist, you have to tell me. It's the law, you have to tell me.
Because he then... Pioro then... He posted a thing being like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then has deleted his account.
Yeah.
So he gone.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because I find it kind of fun to like see and go, oh, I wonder if this. But also I found it really fun to see a new Zelda game and have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
True. And I mean, Nintendo, obviously, they're never going to see it this way as they should and as they are entitled to. But like, it does, like the whole culture of leaks and speculation and is this leak real, is it not, and sort of doing it in a way that's a bit cryptic. It does feed into the mania that surrounds these directs, and it ultimately does help them. You know, it's kind of in a weird way. It is that free publicity where you get people talking about it in the weeks and months leading up before they've announced a direct, and the rumors about like there'll be one next week. It ultimately does help to kind of like... It is so vital to their like cult that they've sort of cultivated over the last however many decades.
Cultivated.
Whoa!
Holy shit!
Whoa!
I
the
agree,
rabbit hole.
and like
I disagree. Well, I think that Nintendo would be justified in saying we don't need their help.
Oh.
We can't sell all the Nintendo Switches that we're making. We are our games are flying off the shelves. We don't need hype generated by someone trying to leak our information.
Oh no,
That's
I'm
what they
not.
would
I'm
say.
not saying they should, but I'm saying it does help them.
Right.
Of course, they don't see it that way,
was
and
gonna
nor should they. But it does. Like this whole, you see, anytime there's like one of these people tweets, it turns into a thing of like a whole. Every like Nintendo site I look at is kind of forced to report on it,
Right.
Which then is like comments on the article. Oh, Metroid Prime 4, here we go. Like, yeah, I don't think that they should lean into this stuff. But yeah.
Because I was going to say I agree, because like a bunch of other companies and like marketing people will deliberately, in quotes, leak and like try to create this sort of thing. It does work, and getting people to do word of mouth for you, thinking they're doing it for some other reason, is like a level good tier marketing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what you want. And
Yes.
I think Nintendo,
like it's authentic discussion, not
Nintendo are pretty silly about a bunch of the stuff that they really put the hammer down on that is to their benefit, like people streaming games and putting footage up.
Yes.
Helps.
Yeah.
And Nintendo doesn't see it that way. Having
then
access to things like ROMs and whatever isn't like, obviously taking a game that is available isn't good, but like Nintendo's attitude towards a lot of that stuff, I think, often doesn't quite acknowledge what people are after them for, especially with like modding and things like that.
Yeah.
Like
They took down sheet music this week.
Right.
Yes, that. Nintendo.
Which is like, I mean, I know it's copyright, sure, but like it
the
doesn't.
music is, but
it doesn't exist in any other realm. Like
It's
if
a
they
description.
sold books of the sheet music, then sure, take down the free version. But
anyone can figure it out. It's
Yeah.
just-
Right.
but
Yeah,
also
true.
emulators are reverse engineered versions of. So Nintendo are particularly litigious and particularly worried about having tight control over everything.
Yeah.
And their games, they've got very tight control.
it was
Mario. He moves
oh
quick.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
It was so interesting reading that Console Wars book, where like even back in the 80s when they came out of the video game crash, and they were you had to buy the cartridges from them. Things had to have the like Nintendo seal on it. They were like, and sort of in a little bit of a way at the time, to their detriment, like there was a lot of pushback. But it was interesting seeing the origins of them digging their heels in and really being like, this is the only way to bring this industry back, is to have some kind of quality control over what's being put out there. And just seeing the origins of like, it ultimately did work out for them. So they just are like, even if everyone around them is going like, you don't get it, this is ultimately bad for games and bad for gamers to have this kind of control over things. Like they just have never had to buy into that mindset. It ultimately has always worked out
And
for them.
their balance sheets don't suggest that it's wrong.
Yeah,
totally.
And I think like the other side of exercising such control when it comes to like news and information and stuff is like, well, what if some of it's wrong? What if some of it changes between the time it's accessed by a leaker and, the announcement is made? Like, the reason that you want to control everything that you release is so it's always accurate to what you're actually doing.
Hollow Knight Silksong has been damaged, by the length of time it's taken, and that they did probably announce it too early if this is how long it was going to take, but B, by people getting kind of pissed off at the game through no fault of its own for it not appearing at a bunch of things where people start going, Hollow Knight Silksong maybe. And if they were like, it won't be there, maybe that help. I don't know.
But you watch that, I mean,
it's a very complicated thing too, and you can find examples of people doing the exact same tactic and it going either way.
But again, I know obviously like with Silksong now there's so much expectation on it, but I mean that whatever presentation it ends up being when they do announce it, you watch when that happens. Like there will be hundreds of videos of like live reacts of people just all this like groundswell that ultimately is like puts it on even though it's already on so many people's radar. It becoming a meme is just the kind of publicity that you can't make it yourself.
More noise is always better than less. There's no such thing as bad marketing. As long as Nintendo don't like pay Kendall Jenner to fucking give a copper Game Boy, then they're probably gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Or
I momentarily forgot who Kendall Jenner was, and I thought you were talking about the guy from Succession. I was like, I don't get this reference. Is there a bit in Succession where he's playing a Game Boy?
No, but he is bad at marketing.
that's
so-
almost
Yeah,
like,
true.
Like
Get up and do a rap about Mario.
small, round, thin frame glasses, cardigan type of guy to be like, I'd completely forgotten about the Kardashians. I only
Yeah.
remember Succession.
My brain does go first to Kendall Roy.
Another type of poor marketing you could probably manage to pull off is if you were to use an image of the Challenger disaster in your key art to promote your game War Thunder. Wouldn't that be an insane thing to have happen?
That would be get Nintendo's fucking lockdown police on them.
Yeah.
Because someone had to look over that before it went out.
So
That's insane.
Maybe
What
the guy that
happened-
was busy doing the drawing of
yeah.
Geralt.
Yeah, he took his eyes off
That's
the...
his job.
Yeah.
He's the best guy at drawing, and he also happens to be the quality control man.
I
Yeah.
still haven't played or barely know anything about War Thunder. The only thing I know is that I love it when it comes up in the news because it's always like official military documents leaked on the War Thunder forum.
Oh, yeah.
Or this where, so they had a photo of a plane flying away from an explosion.
Yes.
That explosion was the explosion of the Challenger shuttle in 1986.
Fucking
which
insane.
They got because it was in a repository that they have
Right.
of licensed images to
Sure,
use.
sure. I'm sure they just put the
It was
word
just listed as
explosion into...
explosion.
Yeah.
And then someone recognized the exact debris spill from the Challenger, which is also crazy, but people...
It is, I mean, like, it's a... If you saw that on the news when it happened, I'm sure it's burned into your brain.
Exactly. Like, there are people who would have lost family members who are still around who, I'm willing to bet, can tell.
Yeah.
And obviously just some other person could, and it's crazy. And they apologized and everything, and were like, it was a complete mistake, and it obviously was.
It's just a wild world we live in where that can happen.
It probably shouldn't be in that photo repository.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Hey,
they know it's for commercial usage.
it
That's
should
why you would build one.
have a big tag in the title being like Challenger disaster tragedy explosion.
And like,
Yeah.
it's not the news. It's not a history
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Why does this, like one that advertising companies are using?
Why Getty Images selling this?
yeah.
Why, who the fuck's Getty?
Yeah.
How does he have every image?
Yeah.
I assume Getty's the name of a person.
Wasn't Getty like a really rich, like a Vanderbilt,
Oh, maybe.
like a Rothschild kind of guy,
Is it
like
the
a
same?
real?
Is Gettysburg? Is that, are we talking Getty?
No, I think Gettysburg's older than Getty, but I think
Getty's got to be older than Gettysburg. Why is it called Gettysburg if not for a Getty?
that's
being
true.
there?
Maybe
Oh, he's got you there.
it's yeah, maybe it's
They didn't they build Gettysburg and then someone's like, you know what? I'm sick of Smith.
What came first, Scrooge McDuck or Duckburg?
okay. Who was Gettysburg after? It's different. It's someone named Samuel Geddes.
Getty's,
Ooh. Yeah.
Getty's nuts. So there's
But then J. Paul Getty is like a like a media magnate.
Okay.
yeah, right.
So that's who Getty Images is.
a media magnate is a person who newspapers stick to.
That's really that's true.
Yeah, I'm having so much fun.
Oh, no,
coming up
sorry.
with cool jokes.
He was an oil company magnate.
Oh yeah.
Apology not accepted.
How come newspapers stick to him then? Beyond Good and Evil 2 has stuck to the coming soon list for quite some time.
Yeah.
Yep.
They've
Silk Song fucking hours over here.
I don't even
way
fucking
longer.
know what this is, honestly.
nobody does.
What
'cause
is this?
They sort of
Well, it's
rebooted it-ish, but how do you reboot something that doesn't
Why am I
exist?
hearing about this every 6 months?
It's
What
a
is
sequel
this?
to Beyond Good and Evil.
A now 20-year-old game because they just put out the 20th anniversary edition the
Right.
other day, which is why they were talking about it. Apparently, there's a new mission in that version that will link into Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yes.
Whatever that is, at some point they've been like, it's an MMO now, it's a this. They put
Right.
out like two sort of
Yeah.
CGI
Shouldn't it be
trailers
called
for it.
Further Beyond Good and Evil?
Yeah, I mean,
Beyonder?
Good and Evil is just a speck in the rearview mirror.
Yes.
That's a better title.
Further than better and worse. Because that would be... But better
Ah,
is better
yeah.
than good, and
Yes.
worse is worse than evil. Not really. Anyway, I agree. I don't care. Like,
They've been driving around for so long now that they're back around to good and evil. They're not even beyond it.
they've taken a wrong turn somewhere.
They've
and they're in,
circumnavigated the globe.
Before
they're in,
Good and
like,
Evil.
Before good and evil.
They've found
Before
their
Good and
way-
Evil 0.
They found their way to like nuanced and complicated.
Yeah,
It's not even
yeah.
clear cut good and evil.
This should be the game.
Speaking of, a remake of Beyond Good and Evil 20 years later, or a re-release, a remaster with extra stuff. They're also remastering Yooka-Laylee, and they're calling it Yooka-Laylee, which is the one appealing part of this. I think that's a funny name.
Yeah, good on them.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the whole project. Just
Yeah.
someone just said that as a joke around the office, and then they're like, "Well, we got to fucking make this now."
It's happened with a million other things.
Yep.
I 100% think that's what happened.
Yeah. What if we called a show Succession?
Yeah.
People would forget about the Kardashians. It'd be so good.
The Discussing Brothers is what we realised we should have gone with.
Yep.
It's an odd, seemingly recent, but I suppose it's 8 or 9 years old now. I think.
I feel like people didn't really like that game.
No,
as well.
they didn't.
And
Which is the
didn't.
one thing.
Yeah.
If you fix up a game that people wanted to like but didn't, that kind of is one of the most.
Yeah, when it's like people were into it at the time, but the camera was really dodgy,
Yeah.
and now we know how to do that. I mean, the other thing too is like, say what you will about Nintendo's re-releases, but they do tend to remaster and port stuff that is like through their own doing, inaccessible, generally.
Yeah. Right.
Like Yooka-Laylee is a PlayStation 4 game. Like you can find it easily and play it on the 4 or 5 that you own.
But
like
you won't enjoy it because it was a bad game.
If they fix it up, then maybe
So-
that
I
justifies
don't know
it.
if they're going to though. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
I
then,
mean,
so the sequel was a better game, right?
this-
People liked
so
the sequel.
It was very different. It was
Yeah, it was. I don't
yeah.
even know if it was like really technically. It was like a 2D platformer, and it does kind of feel like a bit of. People got like when that 2D version was announced, it was a bit like, do people have that much fondness for this? Like, why are they trying this again? And then that was pretty well received. So now they're kind of like hoping to get the goodwill from that. But even that was like 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's interesting, and congratulations for the name at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bold to call it that. Similar to a weird sounding name you played a demo of, Tommy, Rift of the Necrodancer, which is the sequel to Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Yeah. Well, again, it's weird. It's like a completely different style of game.
Oh.
It almost feels like this would have been the one that came first, and then Crypt of the Necrodancer was like a top-down
Rhythm
rhythm
combat.
game where you were
Yeah.
like every time you were moving, enemies on the screen were moving, and you were having to kind of like time and coordinate. And if you like were moving on beat, you would get bonuses and all that kind of stuff. This is it's more sort of like Guitar Hero. So you're looking at like a plane of things kind of moving down. You've got 3 keys, left, up, and right. And you've got little enemies that are coming down the screen, Guitar Hero style, and you're having to hit them as if they're notes.
Right.
But then there's like certain enemies that take 2 hits, so you'll hit them on the beat, and then they'll reappear. They've got a little bandage on them, so you got to hit them again. There's ones that like when you hit them, there's like little bats that depending on what way they're facing, if you hit them, they'll move onto like that side of the screen. So you're also having to coordinate that. And it kind of like incrementally throws these like different styles of enemies, and there's little health things that you can get on the track, and there's little combo bonus things that you can go into. It's fun. It's like a fun take on the rhythm Guitar Hero style of game. But yeah, it's a weird one because it's using like the same sort of character and visual sort of cues and stuff as Crypt of the Necrodancer. But if you really liked that game, it's different enough, and it's a bit, I don't know, it's Crypt of the Necrodancer was such a unique idea for a rhythm thing, and then this is like it almost feels like this would have been the one that existed first.
Right.
And then this got really popular, and they went, oh, what if we put this into like a top-down Zelda-looking style
Right.
thing?
Because there was a Zelda-themed one after
I was
Crypt,
trying to
right?
remember what the name of that was. Like Hyrule, Cadence of Hyrule.
Cadence of Hyrule, yeah.
Yes. And that was just like, oh yeah, another thing where it is like a top-down rhythm combat Zelda-y sort of thing.
Yeah, so
That's
it
weird.
was really cool. I really liked it, and
Right.
I am enjoying this. It's a cool take on that style of rhythm game, and
The thumper sort
yeah,
of,
but-
yeah.
but it'll be interesting to see how it's received when the full thing comes out, because
What is this on? Because it sounds as though it would be pretty easy to put on a phone. Is that maybe part of the thing?
Oh, maybe. I was playing it on Steam, where the demo is. I don't know if the demo is on any other platforms, but it is coming out on like Switch and PlayStation and I think everything.
Sure.
Right.
It's definitely, I think, benefited from playing it on a keyboard. But yeah, I don't know. I did like it. It just was not. Yeah, it was just a bit of a shame for thinking that original one was so unique and such an interesting twist on a format that they've sort of gone backwards and especially when it has been quite a while since that original game. Like if this had have come out, the next year as like a little, hey, these characters in it, like a different sort of like what they do with Shovel Knight.
It sounds a little. It reminds me of like when Bloodstained was coming out. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah.
And it had the sort of NES-looking smaller version,
Prequel-y kind of thing.
a little
almost.
sister game.
Yeah.
Right.
This sounds sort of similar to that. Not having actually seen this or played.
Yeah,
because
you
of
would
the
expect this to
Necrodancer
almost
movie.
just be like a little bonus mode
Yeah.
in the original game.
It
but
sounds cool and
it is
fun,
cool.
though. And if the music
the
is
music's
fun.
good and it's
Right.
yeah. I have had a fun time playing it and like.
Well, that's the main thing.
Well, I guess.
What are your quibbles with that?
Well, I mean, it is the main thing in life, but for this podcast, just literally saying it fun, that ain't enough.
I think
What
most
if
people
it was?
would.
What if we could just get away with that?
Yeah, people just want to hear you be like, "Yeah, I enjoyed that. Let's move on."
Yeah, good point.
No
all right.
criticisms allowed.
Metal Slug Tactics, I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed that too.
What's it about? What?
Shut up. Mind your fucking business.
Leave a 5-star review or fuck off.
What are you talking about? Speaking of twists on formats, 2 Metal Slug
Yeah.
format
Yeah.
twists.
Well, we've been all, I think, pretty excited for Metal Slug Tactics since it was announced and shown.
got announced a
looks
while
super cool.
ago,
Yeah.
and then it's sort of just there'd been no word on it for quite a while,
Yeah.
and I think it's got a release date now.
I think it's just 2024 still.
Okay.
Right.
I might be wrong about that.
Did it show up in...
It was in the Nintendo
Yeah.
one or one of the not E3 ones.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen more of it recently, and they've put out a demo now, which
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to play. I want to play the full thing, but you guys, you got that early little taste.
That's
You
right.
couldn't wait, you eager beavers.
Couple of little early birds over here.
Yeah.
And eager beavers.
Yeah. A lot
Real
of
bloody
animals showing up
fucking forest of people.
in front of the line crowd. In
Look
some
at us getting the
forests.
worm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's
Yeah.
it's what you'd expect. It's a Fire Emblem-y style of thing
Yep.
with your Metal Slug visuals and style and that cool. The thing I like about this series is that there's another Metal Slug thing that's just came out on consoles as well, but they really kept that sprite,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
arcadey,
Yeah.
early 90s style of look to it.
Yeah,
It's
all
a
the-
very specific flavor of sprite that the Neo Geo in
Bounce.
particular
Yes.
has.
Bouncy.
Yes. And
Real-
like the interface stuff and like it's all real chunky.
Yeah.
All the sound effects are like, perfect throwback kind of sound effects.
This sort of like half smooth, half jerky animation that tended to be on that thing.
Just
Yep.
also too, like still like dipping back into this thing that is, very
dormant.
long dormant. And when did it start? Like 80s, 90s?
I think it would have been the early 90s because the Neo Geo I don't think was out until the early 90s.
Yeah.
But it was arcades before that. But still,
But the
early
Neo Geo was
90s.
an arcade machine.
Right.
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So and I think it was early 90s, but then they kept making like I forget which one's which, but at least 7 was on like the Wii, and there was
Right.
that Metal Slug anthology.
Yeah.
that was probably the most recent thing they've put out. I might be wrong about that.
There's
than, like,
heaps of them. I
re-releases.
tried to look up I think when this got announced, actually, I went back because I'd never properly played one of them. And I think I got 3 on the Switch. Like it's just, they're all on there individually for like $7 each or whatever.
Right.
I just tried to look up like what was the best one to go in on as a first timer and played through all of that in a night, and it's like a lot of fun. But what I like about these ones that they're adhering to is like, it's so unapologetically like, how cool is war? And they're just
Right.
like, in a modern
Yeah.
context, like, not that I think that even would have necessarily like rubbed everyone the right way even back in the 90s, but it
Yeah,
is so
yeah.
funny to be putting something out in 2024 where you're like, just adhering to that tone and being like,
Yeah,
yeah,
true.
we just go over there and we've got machine guns and we're just fucking running them down.
Some of our boys,
Yeah.
they're tied up to a post, and I'll jump up there with my knife, cut them open.
Yeah.
They're like, "Thank you, give me a
Yes.
rocket launcher."
I got my
Yes.
pythons out. I got a fucking headband on. I'm cool.
Yeah, chucking grenades. But it is, and also on top of the like pixely 16-bitty stuff, there's all the like illustrated like cartoon sort
Yes.
of anime style like portraits and cutscenes and all that shit's really cool as well. It's like it feels like a 90s like anime VHS sort of style.
It's being made by Emu, who I think also made that Shredder's Revenge Ninja Turtles game. So
Yeah,
kind of
right.
similar thing where they had that like fully animated intro and really adhered to the style of the thing that they were, kind of rebooting. So
Yeah.
So look captured.
yes.
Game isometric tactics game.
Yeah, grid-based movement like the older Fire Emblem games or the first Rabbids Mario
Final
and Rabbids
Fantasy
game.
tactics type of thing.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. All your little characters have the different abilities.
Yeah,
and
different weapons.
Yep.
And
definitely like you get ranked after every level. So there's like a most efficient, effective. The whole grid is almost like a little puzzle where there is like a clear set, most
like-
effective, efficient way to get through it.
Sort of like Into the Breach.
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah.
similar to Into the Breach
On
to
just
my
a-
eye, which I never actually really played.
a
And
bigger
for sure-
scale. It is more like the most recent Mario and Rabbids
Yeah.
games where it's like there are actually kind of like long sort of stages, but like you'll defeat everyone in a certain bit of the stage, move over here, and then like the previous stage will like just fall away.
It's got
You'll
this
move
cool thing where
forwards.
what you're in, the terrain that you're on is like a floating island.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so you reach the end of a bit, and then like a whole new slab of earth just goes poof, and
Yeah.
just like lands in front of you, and then
That's
when you
cool.
move on, the bit behind you drops down, which
Yeah.
is like isn't explained. Isn't referenced as a thing that is like really happening in reality.
Does
No,
it need
it's
to
so
be, baby?
gamey. Yeah. It's
If you're
like
cool enough, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
and it is cool. It's like stylistically, it's sick. It's like I've not seen that kind of done before in one of these
Yeah.
games. But then there's all the normal stuff of like higher ground, better visual, better range
X-weapon
stuff.
type
Yeah.
is better
Yeah.
against this type of enemy.
Area
etc.
effect stuff
Cool.
and you know,
I played a little bit and dipped out because I'm like I'm in this. I knew I was in before. It's just was nice to have that little taste and be like, all right, they're on track here.
That's
Doesn't seem like they've bungled this.
That's
Not at
cool
all.
that they put out a demo.
Yeah.
Also, definitely in the Nintendo thing, I didn't realize it was a port of a mobile game that had existed for some time that is not well liked.
right.
Is another Metal Slug game during the Metal Slug-a-sons. Metal Slug Attack.
Yeah, I did not know it was not well liked. I assumed if they were bringing it over to other things, it must be at least relatively popular.
More like Hello Kitty,
Kitty
Island
Island
Adventure. People do like, and that was
Yep.
one of the mobile ports and
Yeah.
the Switch Direct and so on.
I've played a little bit of this. I'm not. I don't know if I've played too much tower defense stuff, so it's
Right.
not really a genre that I have too much, history with or anything. But you've got your little base on one side of the screen, enemy base on the other side of the screen. You've got like a meter that's kind of constantly going up, and so you're spending like money from that meter to deploy different classes and strengths of troops to sort of march across the screen and take down the enemy's base before they take down yours, or you can push a thing to like make your meter go up quicker. It's just kind of like resource management-y stuff, but it's very simplistic and it's a little like, I don't know, you're watching this little guy run across the screen and you can like push a button to make him attack and then that's got to recharge, and at a certain point you are looking at it going like, why don't I just play Metal Slug?
Right.
And then I can actually control this, you know what I mean? Like, why aren't I just actually doing the fun of this style and this kind of form of thing?
Yeah.
Is it monetized in any sort of way beyond just being a game you buy there? Because I think the mobile game is very microtransaction-y. I could be wrong about this, but that's what I've been
really?
told.
No, I think I haven't seen any evidence of that so far.
Okay.
And it was like,
It wouldn't make sense on the Switch, so I don't think anything-
$15 or something. So it's being
Yeah,
sold as like
yeah.
a, maybe on the phone it's free and then the
Yeah.
microtransaction stuff's in there. But it didn't really grab me, but I can't speak to how it stacks up to like if you love this style of game, because
Right.
yeah, it's not one that I have too much experience with.
Fair enough. It doesn't sound like it's necessarily a valuable expansion to the Metal Slug universe.
Too hard.
Valuable expansions to universes. They do occur from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
Baby, I love Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree.
Yeah, me too. I've played fucking heaps of it.
Me too.
It's-
As much as I've been able to squeeze in,
Yeah.
I have been absolutely in between things, going to the lands between every
Yeah.
obligation that I can not avoid.
Well, to the realm of shadow.
Sorry. Well, is the Realm of Shadow in the lands between, or is it?
I don't know. You
I
have
don't
to
quite
press
get
R.
where we
You got to
are.
press R1 to go to the map.
Yeah, and we're
So-
sort of on like a different time or something, or certainly a different place.
You're certainly like transported by a seemingly magical thing. So
I am not good at figuring out what goes on in these games story-wise.
It's really simple though, Adam. It's, obviously,
That's the bit that you find too difficult and that you're review bombing it for.
Yeah.
The text doesn't make sense.
yeah.
It's that I think it's so fun, and I like experiencing it in the way they put them together. Just these creepy weirdos everywhere telling you this shit that doesn't make sense.
Yes.
But I don't quite know what's actually meant to be
There's a
happening.
bit of, I mean,
Yeah.
I have that with some things, like a lot of Kojima stuff. I'm like, the fact that I don't understand what the fuck is happening is what I'm finding enjoyable about
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I like that I'm confused.
I mean, it's often the way, like, I mean, this is a bad example, but like, the less you see of the mechanical shark in Jaws, the more mysterious and scary
Yeah.
it is. It's like,
Sort
I
of.
don't really need this to be really plainly explained. The implication of like a bigger world and a bigger like a god interacting with a fucking children and like
Yeah.
just to have it in the background while I get to see like giant castles.
it's
and
all
shit.
vibe. It's
Yeah.
all like, yeah.
The vibe is great, and I feel confident that it knows what's there. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
you could look it up afterwards if you can't find it. But
Yeah.
that stuff is, I think, done well in this game to drive you through what is a fucking huge fun expansion
Yeah.
to Elden Ring, which is one of the best games of all time.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it has. I wasn't sure what to expect, honestly.
Yeah.
In terms of like just mechanically, how are you going to get to it when you're there? Is it going to be like more like a couple of castles, like legacy dungeon kind of things? It's like a big, giant, open area of the map again, like another third of the original map, basically, and another series of sites of grace that sort of gradually lead you towards a series of bosses, and then you can jump on Old Mate Torrent and gallop around and jump off a cliff and go exploring if you want.
There's some spots that are more dungeony. There's some spots that are more open. There are some bits and pieces to find all over the place. Some of
Yes.
those bits and pieces. So yeah, structurally, it is a second Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But they've made changes to the style of environment that Elden Ring mainly had that I think really helped this feel fresh in a way that just a second portion might not have felt, where there's a lot more vertical change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
You
Elden
see
Ring's
a
what,
lot of
2 years old now?
2022, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Wow.
February of 2022.
Yeah, right.
So we're over 2 years past when Elden Ring came out.
Yep.
And
How many days?
700 or so?
Yeah, you've snookered me.
Fuck yeah. Finally.
I'm never
790? 820?
something
That's
around
that's
there.
closest, I reckon.
Yeah.
820 days.
820?
Yeah, something like that.
Blaze it.
Now list off what you did on every single one of them.
Okay.
This,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, played
this
Elden
accounts
Ring.
for a lot. Yeah.
there's a lot of spots where you can see something above or below you, where you're like, where
Yeah.
the fuck is that? How do I get there?
Very
Where am I?
Like segmented chunks again. Hey, Metal Slug Tactics style, floating in the air that you've got to navigate around.
There's a lot of different looking sort of, I'm going to use the word biomes.
Oh, no.
I just feel the compunction. It
Yeah.
looks
Yeah, there are.
gorgeous in a way that, like, technically the game is not up to snuff these days, really.
Oh, in terms of the cutting edge sort of,
It's the technology is, this game is, I think this DLC is playable on the Xbox One.
Yeah, right.
So it is not at the bleeding edge of technology, but art-wise,
Yeah.
it's all fresh looking from the base game.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting that same, but in a different way, sense of exploration again. It's got some cool new tricks that have made me go, holy shit, I didn't expect that to be there.
Like what?
I don't want to ruin it.
Did you actually say that out loud?
I looked to my left to the imaginary friend who sits next to me when I play video games.
Jesus, your co-pilot.
Yeah, where there were a couple of whenever there's two sets of soul. Anyway,
Yep. We get it.
yeah. Whenever you got
The
double
online
rooms.
thing.
Yeah.
That's Jesus.
Whenever
He
your
comes and
mimic
helps me.
tier is walking next to you, that's Jesus.
Nice.
It's more of the same. The bosses are, I've found, so fun.
Yeah.
Different in the way that they play to a lot of the Elden Ring over the Souls games, less so Sekiro, but a lot of the others had a bunch of bosses, especially, who would come at you with a ton of things.
Yes.
That you weren't necessarily used to dodging or deflecting in the same way that you could in the Dark Souls games.
Right.
It was
right.
making a point of having different timing on a lot of the attacks.
Yeah, Margit especially tricked up a lot of like Souls fans by being so aggressive and then, like these slow, delayed combos and stuff.
A thing that's held above the boss's head for just longer than you expect.
Yeah.
So you've really got to be paying attention to the timing, which I like that sort of challenge.
Right,
I am
right.
really gelling with it and enjoying it. I'm not trouncing everything, but it's a good feeling to go, oh shit, this thing will take a different type of approach.
Yes. I've been doing a lot more of re-speccing not my like actual stats, but my equipment. You'd be like, oh, actually I should be using the, reduce fire damage and I should be using blah, 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 and sacrificing some buffs for some others and having to adapt my playstyle a bit. Yeah, it's been really good.
Cool as hell that they have really put as much thought into this, if not in some ways more. Like, I'm enjoying this in a consistent way that some of the areas of Elden Ring on reflection were slightly less interesting than others and whatever.
Yeah, right.
And I've not necessarily found that there's anywhere where I'm like, okay. Actually, it's not even really true about Elden Ring. I think I'm just liking it as much, but this is newer.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
you're having that experience over again, like fresh.
Because I'm on New Game 3 for Elden Ring.
I think that's what I'm on too.
And
Because I went through and deliberately got the trophies, which I tend not to do. That is one thing about it. There are no trophies, at least on the PS5 for the DLC.
I hadn't noticed that. Yeah, no, that's true. But yeah, like I scoured every inch of the Elden Ring base map and loved it. And enjoyed every single part of it. And beat every boss. I think it's the only game I've ever platinumed. Like, I absolutely loved it. And yeah, this is more of the same in a fresh way. I couldn't agree more. I think I'm up to the last story boss, which is, but hey, get this, the hardest one of all.
Sure. There's a ton of side stuff and extra bosses and optional things here that I'm trying to chew up before. Yeah, there's some boss I'm up to where I'm like, I don't want to do this one yet because I'm not sure. There's so much to go and see. There are portions of the map I've probably played around 25 hours or so.
Oh yeah,
at this point, something like that.
Yep.
And it's hard to tell because you've got your timer from like the main.
It's interesting because this almost feels like it very easily could have turned into one of those things like what Tears of the Kingdom started off as, like, we'll just make a bit of DLC, and then it's like, okay, this is blown out. This is a whole new game now.
Sort of.
You know what I mean? Like they could have. It's interesting that they did restrain themselves to just still keep it as DLC when they could have easily gone like, let's blow it out a little bit, and then it's Elden Ring 2, and it's the whole new thing, and we'll get make like more. We can make it a full price.
It certainly is still Elden Ring.
Yeah,
and is very much within that engine, and like a lot of the bits of me forgiving some of those cracks that are now appearing, at least on a technical level, is because it is a DLC. I think they would have not been best served by doing that. Like this is the perfect thing for them to do. So and something we haven't mentioned yet, one of the bigger changes is that you have a separate sort of leveling currency in the Shadow realm, which is these two different types of items that you can find.
Yes.
Skadoo tree blessings.
That's right.
The
Skadoo
word
tree.
Skibbity tree.
Skadoo tree, yeah.
Skibbity tea.
Toilets are old news. We're talking skibbity trees now.
The Skibbity toilets, I think, would fit really neatly in the world of
absolutely.
From
Very
Software.
From
They're
Soft.
very
Yeah.
From Software.
Yeah, you got those big jar guys.
Yeah,
Exactly.
If you got like the FromSoft and the like Shin Megami Tensei art
Yeah.
teams together,
Yeah.
they would create Skibbity Toilet.
That's like how-
which is reframed Skibbity Toilet as it should be my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like how on The Simpsons, the Mr. Sparkle is the light bulb and the
Yeah.
fish.
Yeah.
That's like what the Skibbity toilet is.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it should be your favorite thing, Nox, instead of just your second favorite thing.
dude, I love whatever the Rizzler is more.
Yeah.
The Skadoo tree blessings in another type that will
Yeah, I
increase your
forget what the other one
strength
is.
only in the Shadow realm.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's a second leveling system so that they can, again, structure it so that you'll hit some bosses where you're like, fuck, that's hard. I should
Yeah.
turn around.
Yes.
That's pretty
Yes.
common, right? The DLC being like a bit of a reset where like obviously everyone's going to come into it with like a different level of stuff
Yeah.
from the base game, so
Yeah.
they've got to like still stagger you in the same way.
You can, if you were just playing the game for the first time today but owning this, you can access the DLC. You have to do a couple of things in the main game.
Yes.
But you can get to it if you wanted to at a relatively early point.
Yeah.
Which I don't think would serve you well. I think you still are suggested to be between level 120 and 150 or something like that.
Yeah.
For this. So it's very much built as an escalation of where the main game got itself up to.
Yep.
Yep.
There was some hard shit in that game, but if you approach it with the point of view that this game wants you to learn and can be overcome, which I agree with, like the stuff Miyazaki says about it. Not that I can agree with what he thinks or not, like it just is, but I get the same thing out of it that he is intending to create,
Right.
which is this sense of, I can overcome anything.
Yeah.
Every challenge is surmountable.
Yes, that was part of the because he's done a few interviews, obviously, in the past couple of weeks, and not along with being like, no, it's meant to be hard because that is my worldview. It's also, but then you can overcome that, and the sense of satisfaction would not be the same if it was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty basic logic, but yes.
But it totally works well. It's executed really well in the whole series of the Soulsy kind of games. Like they really get that feeling to me on a level that is like, damn, man, that's why I love fucking video games, dude.
Yeah.
If they are
Yeah.
art that is made well, it connects with me on a level that a lot of other things cannot.
Yeah.
Including
Yeah.
human beings. So it's great. Like it's doing it all over again for me. I'm very surprised by how much it's doing it all over again for me.
Yeah.
But very, very happy for that to be the case. I'm messing around with new weapons too.
Oh, yeah,
There's
yeah.
a ton of
Yeah.
new shit in it that is very fun to play around with.
Yeah.
The music's great again. I'm really digging the music, especially for 2 or 3 of the bosses. I've been like, damn,
You've been
that's the
bopping
song
away.
of the summer.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have any.
Wait, Espresso's in this?
No, that one with the Irish kids is. They
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
stop
yeah.
what we do. I doubt it.
I've been a nasty girl. I've been a nasty girl.
Yeah, it's a beautiful soundtrack to
Yeah.
the action on screen.
I mean, this DLC is for anyone who's ever wondered, is anyone going to match their freak? And the answer is yes.
Yeah,
Shadow of the
absolutely.
Erdtree.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, music has changed, hasn't it? When I
Listen to this ep in 2 years' time and being
Yeah.
like, what the fuck are they talking
Hey,
about?
listen to it in 2 weeks' time.
that
or
first
now.
boss, I was so excited to get in there too and just sort of go around this whole world they created. But then the first boss beat me, and I was like, "Well, this is going to ruin the tour,
Oh.
What tour?
the world tour, the Shadow Realm tour."
Yeah.
It just is such a great game that I'm having fun with. I think the only criticisms that like if you wanted to search for them are similar to the first game, where some people aren't going to like it.
Oh, yeah.
Where
Yeah.
it's just made in a certain direction that you may not be interested in walking down.
But
you
this seems like less of an issue because you know that already.
Yeah, it's
You'd
DLC.
imagine
It's
going in, yeah.
DLC. It is.
You have to have played a certain amount of the base game to get into it.
I was watching episode 1 of season 2 of something and being like, wow, it's really similar to season 1 in the characters and the format.
It's got some of that.
And I didn't like season 1,
Yeah.
but I should like this for some
Why
reason.
isn't Smithers black anymore? What's going on?
Well, that's a fair criticism.
How come
Doesn't make any
Homelander's
sense.
the bad guy now? But
it's also-
silly, obscure things that happen in these FromSoft games where it's like, how would you be able to fucking figure that out? But they're in there, and I, for some reason, really like it in these.
Yeah. It feels like it's replicating how I felt playing games when I was younger, even if they were not as hard as, I remember. That sense of having no idea how to do something and gradually figuring out and feeling
no
that
hand
sense
holding,
of-
no
Yeah,
internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and the internet with this game is fun as well. Like, it's enjoyable being on the front lines of a release like this, I suppose, because there's a ton of people playing it. There's all the messages around. You can summon people or be summoned if you want to quite easily at the moment. People have... There's a lot of messages around where people write, I want to go home, and then Edge. That's been the one that people are really being so funny with every time I see it show up, every single room.
My PlayStation Plus ran out and I didn't renew it, so I've been going completely solo.
Full Shadow Realm.
I'm in the shadows. No one can see me. Which I did. I think the first time I played Elden Ring, I also didn't. I just played it offline.
Yeah.
And at some stage, I'll get PlayStation Plus again. I'll go back in. I'll see all the people's messages.
The online stuff's fun. I've done a bit of getting, like, the bosses are the type where they're hard, and I've had so much fun beating them that I've put down the summon signs because I want to help people and play that boss some more, but also be able to assist. Oh,
That's cool.
I did do that with just the base game as well. That was really fun. But yeah, I have not had any assistance with the bosses. And hey, maybe if I can't get this guy, his fucking second phase is really fucking me over, maybe I'll sign up for PlayStation Plus, get some people in. But yeah, I love it. I think it looks great. I hadn't even really registered that it doesn't look super next gen. I think just the art style is so much more, the thing that I care about, that it's like, graphics are fine.
And
honestly.
it doesn't look bad by any means.
Yeah.
Like, they're doing with this engine and this level of technical whatever, they're doing a great job.
It looks as good as Elden Ring, which looked fantastic.
I think some of the art in this as well is a step up.
Yeah,
some of the
yeah.
environments are more interesting than anything that was in Elden Ring. Some of the
And
ideas,
the enemies,
and
yeah.
the bosses especially.
Yeah.
I just fucking love this game, dude.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm very pleased to be able to play more of one of my favorite games that's ever been made, and for it to be pulled off with just as high a level of quality.
Yeah.
That is just a big step above. I loved playing Liza P last year.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good game, and I still do. It's just, when the main...
When you're drinking Schweppes, you're like, home brand lemonade sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
a new Shrek comes out, you're like, fuck you, Pixar.
Exactly. No, that's a perfect analogy. I really honestly don't have many criticisms for it. I think it's incredibly fun and satisfying. Like you say, the music's great, the art style's great. A perfect game, 3 out of 5.
Nice.
Love it.
Well, that's going to do us for another episode of Filthy Casuals.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, everyone. Get on to filthycasuals.com.au for everything that we're doing. Sign up to the Patreon.
Yeah, get some DLC of your own.
Exactly.
Some perfect DLC.
We're a listener-supported program, and we do really appreciate everyone who chips in. If you like getting the show every week for free, and you'd like to reward our efforts and our work, well, then we would absolutely love that.
It is the thing that enables our efforts and our work too. So we truly do really appreciate it.
Yes.
Yep. Get on there. We've got a bonus episode every week on the Patreon. We are about to start doing. You can get this show without ad-free.
Yes.
And a little mailbag episode.
Yeah.
Once a month.
Some other little bits and bobs too.
Yeah,
Yep.
keep an eye on the
there.
socials. We'll explain everything pertaining to that.
Yeah.
All the deets will be on our socials. But Yeah, it would be very, very much appreciated if
Get
you
on
could jump
there.
on the Patreon. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks very much for listening, everyone. We will see you next time. And as we say here at the end of every episode of Filthy Casuals,
The Challenger explosion was behind us the whole time in this episode, by the way.
Shit.
There's a
Green
video
screen it
too.
in.
Some people can.
yeah.
Don't green screen it in.